Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Town of Ayer Select Board meeting for Tuesday, April 20th, 2021. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Baker issued an emergency order temporarily suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Public bodies otherwise governed by the open meeting law are temporarily relieved from the requirement that meetings be held in public places open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be broadcast live on Channel 8 and on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by following the call-in information on the bottom of the live broadcast screen. For the Zoom meeting information relating to remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220 extension 100 prior to the meeting. If we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Cindy, could you put up our nice graphic? I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
Great, thank you, Cindy. I do have one announcement this evening, and that is that the annual town meeting will be held on Monday, April 26th. Is that correct? I'm sorry, the date here says April 26th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium of the Ayer Shirley Regional High School. Please wear a mask. All social distance and COVID-19 safety protocols will be in place. If you have any questions, please contact the Select Board's office. And are there any changes to the agenda as it was presented?
I don't have any, thank you.
I have nothing.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay, Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, and the agenda is approved as it was submitted. We can start the meeting with, is there anybody on the line for public input? Okay, and not seeing or hearing anybody, we'll go ahead and move on to our first agenda item, which is a discussion with the Ayer Shirley Regional School District School Committee on the town meeting petition article to amend the regional school agreement. I'd like to welcome the members of the school committee who are joining us this evening. And if you, Joyce, if you want to call your committee to order before we begin.
That's just what I wanted to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have posted this meeting as a meeting and it looks like we have a quorum. So I would call the Ayer Shirley Regional School Committee to session at 6:03 with the Ayer Town Hall Zoom meeting. I think that does it. We have Mr. Leone there. Mr. Joe Leone is there. Miss Cheryl Simmons, Mr. Jonathan DeForge, Miss Michelle Granger. And that gives us, did I miss anybody? Because I can't see everybody on my screen. And that gives us a quorum. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. So thank you guys for joining us. And the board, we had at two of our meetings, we've had some discussion on this petition item that was added to our town warrant. There was a lot of confusion by some of the people who attended the meetings as well as from us. And we were just, we were kind of hoping that, I know it came from Shirley, from a resident petition in Shirley. But if, as a board, if you guys could maybe explain what this would do, what changes this would cause, and what we understand the board was not recommending this, but like, if you could give us some thoughts on that, sort of like an educational background on it.
If you want, I can start. So we had Jonathan DeForge had done a really good job. Actually, COVID this discount 2020. And the procedure is if we see things and they were just mostly years and just grammatical stuff that needed to be cleaned up from the original one. And that was submitted to our lawyer for review, and then it goes to the Department of Education for review. And so there's no way we would take it to the town until we had done those 2 items. And with COVID, of course, it all gets slowed down a bit. So we haven't gotten that back from the Department of Education yet, from the Commissioner's office. And if you want, I can let Jonathan pick up from there because he's been so involved in a lot of this. He can maybe explain it more than I can.
Sure, that'd be great.
Jonathan?
Yeah, great. Yes, thank you, Joyce. So as Joyce said, there's, the regional agreement, or the big, I can't remember the big long name that it's really called, but the regional agreement, right? So yeah, in 2018, we had started a review. The original agreement prescribes for a 5-year review. We did not realize that. And so in 2018, we took up a review. We cleaned up a lot of the language that talks about how the district would be formed and in those transformative years that just don't apply anymore. So we had accepted to make changes there. And really just a housekeeping thing. One item we had put in was the right now, the regional agreement prescribes that students of each town in elementary schools will attend an elementary school in their hometown. We added language there that would allow for a regional elementary school. Not saying it would ever happen, or that's way down the line, but we wanted to add that just in case. Perhaps the most debated matter of the regional agreement is the ability for the school committee to and I'm missing the verb here, but to get debt, right? We'll go for debt.
Incur.
Incur debt. Thank you. Wow. So there's 2 options under Mass General Law. We have them both in our current regional agreement. One section is that you goes to town, brings the issue to a town meeting, or goes to the selectmen in both towns. If they so choose, they can call a town meeting to debate the issue. Otherwise, it just sort of is approved and you move on. The other is to have a combined vote between all members of the district. So in this case, Ayer and Shirley. And that's what we've used for both the high school and the Fields project. However, in both cases, we put a caveat on it that a local restriction, that
Jonathan, can I clarify one thing with that? The second piece you said about a combined vote, that would be a ballot vote as opposed to a town meeting.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And so, again, with the high school project and the Fields project, the school committee voted to enact a local restriction that said we would not proceed incurring the debt until both towns had approved funding. And so that gets you to where we are with the Fields project. When we reviewed in 2018, when we reviewed the agreement, we did make some changes around that, what options we would use. However, we left them both in there. And if I recall correctly, the thinking of the committee at the time was that we wanted to give, the most options possible to allow people to vote or write it in for each situation. I'll give not handcuff a future school committee. And then, so that was there. Again, as Ms. Research pointed out, we typically, what Desi and our lawyers have recommended is that you submit it to the lawyer and they work with Desi to get initial approval. And the idea there is they have ultimate sign off at the end of this process. So they don't want you to get through town meetings and budget presentations and then have them reject the changes, right? So they're going to make sure your changes are good and then sort of, hand it back to you and say, okay, please proceed, get your approvals from your towns. So that's where we're really at with the current revisions to the regional agreement. Mr. Chair, as you talked about, there is a citizens petition from the town of Shirley originated by residents in the town of Shirley who wish to change the regional agreement. Now, I should take one step back. In the regional agreement, there are two provisions for modifying the regional agreement. One is a school committee vote and a prescribed process that involves public hearings and then a town meeting vote for adoption. The second is a member, 10% of the certified voters in any town can petition via citizens petition, which is what you have here. And they can bring that to a town meeting. There's no public hearings involved. It's just straight to town meeting. So that's what you have here, is a citizens petition that looks to change the regional agreement so that only the methodology of going to a town meeting would be allowed. It takes away the combined vote. And you know, that's sort of what it is. The school committee as a whole hasn't taken a position on this petition recently. I think, you know, our votes in 2018 sort of do that, where the committee at that time wanted to go on the regional agreement. There has been some discussion in recent meetings that the majority of the members were not in favor of making the changes, but the citizens petition was ultimately submitted and certified.
So just kind of recap from a question for me. So one, it sounds like the petition could be like very much premature because you are already revising something. So this could go through this entire process. And even if it was approved, it could be rejected by DESI. Is that a correct assumption?
That is correct.
Okay. And then my other question it also sounds like if this petition was to move forward, it was approved, but it sounds like it's removing a certain layer of transparency from the process. Is that also a correct assumption on it? By getting rid of those like public hearings?
It doesn't, the change itself doesn't get rid of the public hearings. It just happens to be that the way the regional agreement is written for revisions, it's either a school committee vote and then public hearings and then town meeting, or a citizens petition right to town meeting.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
It would, if I could jump in, it would take away the change, from what I understand, would have the town meeting approve any incurrence of debt. Is that correct?
Yes, so there would be no more combined ballot vote option available if this was adopted.
So what I would say to that, and I would say to the town of Ayer, is that should be somewhat concerning, because now you would have the 50 to 75 to 100 people that go to town meeting making a decision instead of the 4,000 or whatever voters that you might get to go to a ballot box. So it really takes away the voice of the townspeople of Ayer, in my view.
Or either town. I think what it allows is for the one town to nix a project and not listen to the majority of the district. And I think a district vote allows you to see what the will of the whole district is, excluding one town or the other. With D, the option that is on the petition, one town can say no, and that's it. So it doesn't matter what the majority of people in the district want, and I think that's to me where it's not fair. It's not right.
Giving or limiting the school committee now and in the future by only allowing votes for these bigger projects at town meeting really gives a lot of power to a small amount of people who attend town meeting. And frankly, in my mind, it really feels like voter suppression to me, because when we're talking about a both towns, and the amount of people or the type of people who are able to get to town meeting on a school night, you know, that's difficult. So we all know that people have the best of intentions to be involved in voting for things that are very important to them with their town. But if it's only limited to town meeting, that takes away a lot of people's ability to participate in that voting, especially single family households. And that doesn't sit well with me.
Scott or Janice, do you have any questions or comments? Or
I think they've covered it all. I agree. It's very concerning. We don't want to take away ballot options. You know, you want to have a nice mix of, you know, town meeting and ballot options. And I don't like the idea, like they said, you know, taking it from everyone being involved. You know, you have the opportunity of having like 4,000 voters showing up versus the 100. And when it comes to something like the school, you know, there are going to be people that don't have kids, so they're not invested. And then there are those that do. And by having it at the ballot, I think you're getting the best vote. So yeah, this is very concerning.
Yeah, I think we need to make sure we don't have too much power by a smaller group of people that can just wield their decisions at will. And, you know, so definitely we need to keep the ballot option.
If I may,
Yes.
the school committee voted to not jump on this at this time because we felt it was too important just to do a slap session should be considered thoroughly. And without getting the other information back, we couldn't do that. So particularly in this COVID thing where you're suddenly discussing something extremely important at 9:30 at night, this is not the time to do this and not having full public there. So we have a quorum here tonight, but we have already voted not to proceed on this at this time. Now, that doesn't mean it won't be considered again in the future, but at this moment, I also feel that, and I tried to even get in touch with a couple of them, but it was difficult. The people who formed our region very, very intelligently, very carefully did this number 10 article. And they did it for good reason so that we would have options. So I think if we look at that, it's been working so far. I can tell you that our vote was that we would not consider it at this time.
If I could just jump in with one more thing, we have been advised several times by council, even when we were, you know, discussing this paragraph, is that you wouldn't want to restrict any school committee by having just very limited language. So to take away options and just have one option for the incurrence of debt takes away the options that the school committee has to go ahead with a vote for that. So we have been advised by our attorney several times that that wouldn't be a good idea. I mean, it's in the statute that way for a reason.
So if anybody else has any other questions, please step forward. We'll be happy to do our best. Silence.
No, I don't have any other questions.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for joining us.
Okay.
It was definitely helpful to hear it from the committee. And for anybody watching, I think it may be a little bit more clear. It sounds like what some of us thought it was, but like, to actually hear you guys say it definitely is helpful.
Well, if you don't need us anymore, I would call for a motion to adjourn the school committee.
Motion to adjourn the school committee.
Second.
6:19.
Second, and if everybody wants to vote by a raise of the hand, since we don't have a controlling secretary here tonight, we'll just go like that. Okay, thank you so much for having us.
Thank
We
you.
will come
Great. Thank you,
anytime you
guys.
want.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all.
Great. Our next item is going to be our update from Superintendent Wetzel from DPW.
right.
Hello, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Good evening. Boy, that was an exciting school committee talk.
Thanks, Mark.
This is gonna,
I thought it was.
this is even more riveting, your public works discussions.
Ugh.
So I put together a real quick PowerPoint just so we can kind of follow along. It basically mimics the memo that was in your packet. Carly, can I share the screen?
Yes.
All right. Let's see, share screen. There we go. And so is that showing up pretty well?
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
it's not in slides. There we go. So I've got 4 items tonight, and I'll try to make them brief. The first item, the sewer rules and regulations. We've been working on these for a few years, and they kind of keep morphing and changing. And I finally decided we better get them wrapped up. We've got a number of things that factor into this. One is some of the items you already voted on, for instance, the out-of-town sewer connections or application process. But we also have some requirements that the EPA has put in place with respect to our pre-treatment program. So we needed to update those. And as you can see, we haven't updated them for over 20 years. So it was due. And I wanted to also make them as consistent as I could with the water rules and regulations. So in general, and I didn't include a full set in your packet. I still have a few edits to do, which I'll hopefully finish up tomorrow and get posted on the town website. But in general, it's similar to the water rules and regulations, with the exception of probably about 2/3 of it is related to the industrial discharge permit regulations and, and pre-treatment requirements and enforcement actions. So the first 4 items that I have here, the sewer connection applications and the extensions and construction requirements, the rights and restrictions in use, town responsibilities and sewer rates and fees, is more or less mimics the guidance that we have for the water rules and regulations. And then but the bulk of it is required by the EPA and the DEP. And so what I'm proposing is you don't have to do any approvals or anything tonight. I just wanted to let you know where we are in the process. What I'm proposing is we'll post this on the website, send out a notice that they're available for comments, and that those comments would be due by Friday, May 7th. You have any questions or comments on the rules and regulations?
No.
No, thank you.
The next item is we have the first change order for the Spectacle Pond Wellfield PFAS treatment plant project. You can see there's a photo there of the construction. This was taken maybe about a month ago. It's a really tight site, as you can probably see. We've got wetlands on both sides. We had to build a retaining wall, so we have a level area for the new treatment plant to go. And where this is the old well pumping station, this location, that'll be demolished, and that's basically where the new building is going to go. So we started off with what I call a value engineering credit. There were a couple things in the design that I thought were a little over engineered. So I talked to the contractor, and we worked up some credits on a couple of items that reduced the contract by $59,000. And so we started off with a credit, and then we had some issues. We put in a replacement well because we have to demolish this well pumping station. So we put in a replacement well on the other side of the proposed building. What ended up happening was the pump horsepower was larger than the existing well. It's probably one of the better wells I've seen in the area. theoretically, it should pump about 4,000 gallons a minute, but we don't have the approval to pump that much, number one, and number two, we don't have the capacity to pump that much, but it's a really, really good well, really improvement over the other well, just by moving it about 75 feet. But we needed to make some changes in the temporary controls so that we could pump the new well into the system while we demolished the old well. So that was a change order of about $23,000. And then one of the things that we discovered, and we'll talk a little bit more about AC pipe in the next item, but the transmission main that runs from the wells to the treatment plant is a 16-inch AC, and we call that either transite or asbestos cement. And don't get alarmed by the asbestos cement. It's not a problem in drinking water. It's just not a very reliable pipe. So we figured while we're out there doing all this digging and building all this infrastructure, it would be worthwhile to replace the 16-inch pipe from the existing well to the treatment plant and not have to worry about that sometime in the future. And we're replacing that with a 16-inch ductile iron pipe, which is a pretty iron-proof solution. And then we also found some peat out there from where the road had been put in over the swamp. So we had to pay extra to remove the peat and put in some decent gravel sub-base for the pipe. So the total of the change order works out to $49,282, which increases the contract amount to $5,195,171. So I recommend the select board approve the change order for approval by the board.
Scott or Janice, any questions on the change order?
No, thank you.
I didn't have any either.
So I'll make a motion that the board approve the Spectacle Pond Wellfield PFAS Treatment Plant Change Order 1 in the amount of $49,282 as presented. Signatures by the full board.
I'll second.
Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, and the change order is accepted.
So the next item is, I wanted to update the board on this because it's a pretty significant infrastructure issue that we hadn't anticipated. I think we have a couple solutions. It kind of upsets our sewer repair plans a little bit, but so on March 25th, we were notified of a sewer backup on Westford Road. And upon investigation, we found out that the sewer had collapsed, and there was a sewer overflow and property damage. The pipe is a 12-inch asbestos cement, and as I mentioned, it's a little bit questionable on its reliability. And what we discovered was that asbestos cement, they basically use a cement material and asbestos fibers as reinforcing to hold it together. And it was pretty popular in the 60s and the 70s. And we do have a significant amount of it in our water system that we're going to have to start dealing with, but it's so far so good. But we have some in the sewer, not a huge amount, but when we tested this area, we weren't finding any leakage. But because of this break, we discovered that the pipe had significant internal corrosion due to a hydrogen sulfide sewer gas. And probably a lot of that sewer gas is related to the years of industrial discharge into this pipe. The pipe services Mulberry Circle, Loon Hill, Nemco Way, New England Way, the Groton interconnection, and the Stony Brook pumping station discharges into this pipe. Flow is between 150,000 and 220,000 gallons a day. So it's about 10 to 15% of our total flow. And you can see, this is the area we're talking about. This is New England Way, which goes down to Vitasoy. This is the old Schoolhouse Village condos. The Sandy Pond Schoolhouse is down here. So it's basically this sewer right up to this yellow line. And this is the force main that pumps over from Stony Brook Pump Station. Above this is PVC pipe. So that's in fairly new and in good condition. That was installed as part of the Mulberry Circle subdivision. Our break was right at this point here. And you can see, this is a picture of the inside. We did some TV inspections after the fact, and you can see some layers of the pipe are starting to deteriorate off the top. So we looked at two different options. One is to reline the damaged pipe, similar to what we're doing on some of the other older pipes in the system. They basically put a flexible liner in, and then they fill it with water that cures it into a hard structural pipe inside a pipe. And we actually have a contract going on right now. They're going to start relining the pipe up on Long Grove Pond, which is one of our major pipes, probably next week. So what we would propose is that we reline most of the pipe. The area that we had to dig up and repair, we can't reline it because of the way the repair was done. So we would have to replace that first section, which is about 270 feet. One of the issues is we're not really sure if this is feasible until we really get in there and start doing it, because we have to clean the inside of the sewer and make it somewhat smooth. But if we can do it, we'll do it as a change order to our existing contract that's being done right now. The estimated cost to do this, including the replacement of that first 270 feet, is about $195,000. The other option is, assuming we can't reline it, is we would have to replace the entire section of the new sewer. The estimated cost of that is $667,000. So you can see it's quite a bit more money. There's some issues with where do we locate it in the street without having to dig up the whole existing pipe. How do we do bypass pumping when we are doing the connections and the installation? And Westford Road is a significant traffic control issue. So we have a little bit of money left in our current FY21 borrow article that we could use towards this. And then we have a new sewer repair article that's on Monday's town meeting warrant article for $750,000, which could fund the project if we had to do the whole thing. So what I'm recommending is that we proceed with option one, attempt, and see if it will work. If not, then we would have to, and in the meantime, begin the design of option two so that we can be ready to do that if option one doesn't start or doesn't succeed. And then we would have to begin that process. Under option one, we could do that primarily as a change order with our existing contract. Option two, we'd have to design and bid the whole project. So do you have any questions? I just wanted to give you an update on what's going on out there and see if you concur with this and if you have any questions.
Mark, what is the difference in like life expectancy? Like if you reline versus going brand new, is it like if you reline it, is it just kicking it down the road a couple of years? Or
no, it's like putting in a new pipe basically. Okay. What the relining is I'll use the term felt, but it's more complicated than that. Basically, they take a textile-based tube and they soak it in a fiberglass epoxy, and then they invert that into the pipe and fill it with water so this lining pipe holds up against the walls of the inside pipe. And then they heat up that water and that cures the epoxy. So it's structurally really strong, and it's just like putting in a new fiberglass pipe.
Okay. Janice?
So Mark, just to make sure, so while you're doing option one, you would be simultaneously designing option two, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Because,
and we probably won't have, while we're doing option one, we probably won't have the design complete. So we could stop it at a certain point if it looks like option one is going to work. But it gives us a head start if we find out option one doesn't work.
right, so which could help you down the road if God forbid it failed again, at least you've got part of option two started,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then second question, so you would ask for concurrence, are you asking for a motion?
No, at this point, I'm just looking at the direction. If you feel that this is the right way to go, we don't need a vote or a motion. I will probably bring this up at town meeting that this generally what we do with our sewer repair money that we vote at town meeting, we have a whole list of pipes that leak. In this case, if we had to use that 750,000 for this, then we would just proceed with repairing this. But the article's written so that we have flexibility on what pipes we do in it. So at this point, I don't need a vote. I just wanted to give you an update and get some input.
Scott, did you have any?
Well, you guys took my question, so no.
And that's how we are.
I do have a piece of the pipe that we took out of the hole, and I won't get it out of the plastic because we're supposed to handle AC pipe very delicately, which is another problem, but it probably originally was over an inch thick, and there's one piece of it here that's probably a quarter of an inch thick. It's in significant failure.
I think I'm inclined to agree with your plan to go option one and while exploring option two in case it's needed.
Concur.
I agree.
Thanks. All right, and the last item that I have is the water conservation plan for this year. We've been getting a lot of calls from people asking if we're going to have an outdoor water ban this year. I think the last 2 years that we've had it, the claim or the reason was that we had limited water coming out of Grove Pond because of the PFAS contamination, and that when we had the treatment plant online, we would not have the total outdoor water ban. I think we're in pretty good shape water supply wise. And so I'm recommending that we don't have a mandatory outdoor water ban, but we have our normal odd, even, and hourly water restrictions that we have in our rules and regulations, and that the DP has requested that we do. One thing that I will point out is I get updates about every month from the state on the status of the drought. Right now, central Massachusetts is in what they call a level 1 drought. I think we have been behind on precipitation for the first 3 months. I'm not sure where we are in April. We had a nice little snowstorm on Friday, but they don't have any restrictions on water usage in place yet. But if we don't see significant increase, then I would guess by mid to late summer, the state may require all towns to have some sort of an outdoor ban. But I would say let's wait until we see what happens with the weather on that.
Mark, I have a question.
Sure.
Sean, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's okay. Is it worth looking at adding another water tower to our system?
I think we have plenty of water storage. Looking at when I evaluate a water system, I have certain rules of thumb that I use when I look at how much water supply capacity do we have, how much do we have if we have a well out of service. You generally don't want your water storage tank to provide water supply on a daily basis. You want it to provide peak hour demand. So typically what would happen is during the morning when everybody's getting ready for work, having breakfast, your water demand goes up and your tank drops a little bit. Then as the day goes on, your tank might fill up some. Dinner time, everybody's making dinner, watering the lawns, things like that. Your tanks drop a little bit more, and then at night we catch up and fill them up. So you don't want to provide make up your daily supply with your tanks, because you'll never catch up. And you also want to keep a certain amount for fire protection. So generally for fire protection, I look at about 750,000 gallons of storage to put out a pretty good fire. And we have a total of 2.5 million gallons of storage in the system. So I think I wouldn't say we need another water tank. We do have located and identified a potential new water supply well over in the Spectacle Pond area. I have in the budget for next year, for FY23, I believe, to do the final testing on that, so that we're ready to go. We also do have emergency interconnections with Devon. So I think we're in okay water supply shape, but if we had a catastrophe like a fire at one of our two well fields, we'd have to go on an emergency situation. So that's the long answer for water tanks. And if you want, I can share the little table that I use where I plug in all the numbers and show you whether we have enough water storage or enough supply. Actually, I think I showed you last fall the capacity analysis on our supplies. And I'd like to update that on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah, the reason I asked is just, it seems like we're in this constant drought cycle. So I know that, like over the last couple of years with the treatment facilities coming online, there's been, some understanding, but also some pushback regarding, restrictions on water usage. So just maybe asking the question that maybe to prepare for longer, drier cycles that maybe in our future, just looking at potential additional capacity.
All right, and so I would request a vote by the board to implement the mandatory water restrictions with odd even usage and no outside usage between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Janice, any questions before?
Nope.
Okay.
I
didn't have any. Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Okay. Sorry, Sean, did you have a question?
Nope, I was gonna say I didn't have any either.
Okay, I'll make a motion for the select board to approve a water restriction with mandatory no water use between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. and mandatory odd even outside water restrictions, even numbered street addresses on even dates and odd number addresses on odd numbered dates.
Seconded.
Okay, board member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Okay. One thing I also wanted to point out on our water use, because I actually had a call from a gentleman today that was asking about, he sees all the houses going up in town and do we have enough water for those? Every year we fill out what we call the annual statistics report for the state, and it goes through, I think it's probably about 30 or 40 pages of information on our water system with a detailed analysis of our water use, different classifications and things. And we have most of our non-residential uses in one of our meter reading routes. And so I can get all the data from the municipal accounts, the school accounts, the residential accounts, and the business or non-residential accounts. That non-residential usage accounts for 70% of our water use. So it's a huge amount. And that's somewhat of a good thing and somewhat of a bad thing. The good thing is it tends to dampen out the spikes that you might see. So if you're in a town that's almost all residential, when everyone's watering their lawns at 6 in the morning, you're going to use a lot of water. Whereas with Pepsi and the soya and Splash, they're using a fair amount of water all the time. So you don't see those big spikes out of the other 30% of the users. The bad thing is, if they go out of business, like Very Fine did up in Littleton, you could be scrambling for water revenue because they pay a huge amount of our water revenue. So there's good and bad of having big customers, but I think overall it helps us with our outdoor watering.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's all I have tonight. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Have a good night.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, Mark, can I ask you one quick question before you go?
Sure.
Very simple one. Do you know when the paving is going to start on Groton Shirley Road?
I was just talking with the superintendent or the highway foreman about that. And we're going to get a schedule and the cost breakdown and everything from our paving contractor. I'm not in a real hurry to do that because I'd like to get a little more rain on the road before we pave it, because we did do a fair amount of the sewer work this spring. So if it settles over time, the contractor that did the work did a very good job with compacting. But so I would guess it's probably going to be probably sometime June or early July.
All right, thank you.
One other thing I'll mention on that is one of my concerns, and if you're a resident up there, you probably have the same concern, is we get a lot of cut-through traffic on the road, and the road's probably, I think it has the worst pavement rating in town. Once we pave it, it's going to become a speedway. So what I'm proposing to do is have a Zoom meeting probably sometime in May with the residents and talk about traffic calming and see if we can get some ideas. You know, I don't really want to put speed bumps out there, but if we have to, then we can do that. Probably more like speed tables. But I think maybe some flashing speed signs might help. But I'm just concerned that once it's paved, it's going to be a runway.
Understood.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank
Thank you, Mark. Okay, next up, we have our town manager's report. Good evening, Robert.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Select Board. I hope everyone is well. In terms of the administrative update, it's been mostly all things town meeting preparation and budget preparation as we move forward. You have the review of the town warrants that have been reviewed and approved since the board last met, which are in the packet. In terms of the COVID-19 update, our preparedness remains status quo, which is good. On the downside, as of last Thursday, from the Mass DPH community map, Ayer remains classified as red at high risk. So we're hoping that will change coming up this Thursday. Additionally, as the board probably saw in the news, the Mass Department of Public Health has given approval for a regional COVID-19 vaccination center to be located on Devon's at the Veterans Homestead facility. So planning efforts are now underway with that approval for that regional clinic. In terms of our reopening plan, we have started to have appointments at the town hall. That system has worked well. The outdoor system with the tent has also worked very well. We're in the process, we're just waiting for the permanent glass to arrive for the installation on the town hall windows and window counters inside the building. And that's should be scheduled for probably the second week of May or so, from what facilities tells me. As I understand it, the Parks Commission and the Board of Health continue to work together with a plan for opening the waterfront safely just prior to Memorial Day, as they usually do. I know that the Library Board of Trustees has met recently regarding reopening plans for the library. So we continue to move forward. And of course, in-person learning continues at the Ayer Shirley Regional School District, which is very important. So we continue to move forward with that. Related to that, item number 3 I have, and I'm joined by Kevin Johnson, the Benefits and Payroll Manager, who prepared the memo at my request that's in your packet. We'd like to make a recommendation to the board to extend the Families First Coronavirus Response Act to September 30th of 2021. It expired back on March 31st. And we can extend it through to September. We've already extended it one other time. And through the chair, I'd just like Mr. Johnston to provide a brief synopsis as to what the extension would mean for the town.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank
Good
you,
evening,
Robert.
Kevin.
Evening.
The memo explains briefly the details that have changed with regard to the extension. So the original paid sick leave and expanded family and medical leave expired on December 31st. You extended it through March 31st, the first 3-month voluntary extension. The American Rescue Plan Act, as Robert explained, provides another voluntary extension through September 30th with a couple of changes to the details. It allows use of the sick leave for vaccinations, specifically for testing and or diagnosis when asked by the employer, and to do so, and for any injury or illness as a result of receiving a vaccine. And it does provide an additional 80 hours of paid sick leave, emergency paid sick leave. The original bank was 80, and there was no added hours for the first extension, but there is for this one. Those are the basic detail changes in this voluntary extension for us. As you know, we are still in the pandemic and the state of emergency. So that is the basis for our recommendation this evening.
Okay. Scott or Janice, any questions?
No questions.
No questions, fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
Yep.
Same. Okay,
So
I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that the select board approve the extension of COVID-19 related emergency paid sick leave and expanded family and medical leave as outlined tonight
I will
till
second.
September 30th. Yeah. Sorry.
I'll still second.
Okay. Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
The 4th item is just a brief update on the annual town meeting. As the chair announced at the beginning of the meeting, town meeting is Monday, April 26th at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium. And as we have done since the pandemic has started, we are implementing the appropriate COVID-19 safety protocols that worked well back in June, as well as at the October meeting. And just for the public's benefit, we get a lot of inquiries if town meeting will be remote or on Zoom, but Massachusetts law doesn't provide for an open town meeting to be done remotely. So it will be in person following these protocols. As the chair mentioned, masks will be required. We'll ask everybody to sign in for contact tracing purposes. The seating plan for the auditorium is maximized to fit the maximum amount of folks safely with the appropriate distancing. Obviously, families and same sort of pod environment can sit together, which will give us some more room. There'll be a touchless microphone system that we've used last time. Then in the event, which probably will be the case, that overflow seating is needed, the overflow room is set up with real-time audio and real-time video between that room and the auditorium. I want to thank APAC and the IT department, as well as the subcontractor that we used in the fall. The system worked very well in the fall and will work again on Monday. It's going to be tested this Friday. We'll do sort of a dress rehearsal with it. In addition to the town meeting, again, on the website, as we talked about before, there is a town meeting page that has the budget, the warrant, and all materials that support various warrant articles as sort of a central spot for folks to get information. The warrant was posted on April 9th to all of the physical locations in the town hall, library, Pauline's Variety, Jack-o'-lantern, the police station, the library. There are also hard copies of the warrant available in the white drop box on the side of Town Hall. The warrant has also been printed and mailed to all of the households. We continue to do the articles of the day on Facebook, the website, and the email blast, where we take a couple of articles each day and sort of just provide a brief synopsis of that. And today we put out all of the physical signs throughout town promoting town meeting, as well as the election and the last day to register to vote. The buy board will be finalizing this year's budget book, which will be posting electronically by Thursday, and then it will be available in hard copy to town meeting participants when they arrive. The annual report has been completed and is being completed at the printer. That will also be available at town meeting. And once we receive it, we'll also post that electronically. So I think we're in good shape for another successful town meeting. We're prepared for additional information or very short presentations on any articles that are requested by the members of town meeting. For specific articles that we're pretty confident there'll be presentation on, will be Article 4, the omnibus budget. The buy board just approved the budget presentation for that. Article 26, the TIF agreement. The company, through the moderator, would like to address town meeting with a very brief presentation. Article 27, the transfer of the cemetery, I'll have a very brief presentation on. And Article 28, the affordable housing article. I know that the chair of the Affordable Housing Committee will have a brief presentation. Additionally, under one other one I forgot, under Article 11, there'll be a very brief presentation on some of the DPW items in that article. Of course, there are other presentations and other materials that will be available to help answer any questions as we move forward at town meeting. So I don't know if there are any questions for the board related to town meeting. That's sort of just an overview of the preparations for Monday.
Scott or Janice?
I have none.
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. The last item under my report, and again, welcome Mr. Johnston, Benefits and Payroll Manager. We wanted to start a discussion with the select board and get some guidance, and ultimately this is a policy decision that rests with the select board, and not looking for a formal decision tonight or any type of vote, but to discuss the status of the Juneteenth holiday. As the board's aware, last year, under state law, Juneteenth became a state holiday. And since it's become a state holiday, there have been some inquiries as to whether the town of Ayer will recognize it, and if so, will it be officially recognized, and so forth. So we wanted to start the discussion. Kevin prepared another memo that you have in the packet, which also includes from the personnel policies, the existing holidays that we have. And just wanted to sort of get the board's thoughts on that. And maybe again, through the chair, maybe Mr. Johnston could just give a snapshot, as he's done quite a bit of the research on this issue.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So as Robert mentioned, Juneteenth Independence Day was approved by the legislature last year. and is now listed as a Massachusetts legal holiday on the Secretary of State's website. As a matter of practice, town offices have been closed in observance of all Massachusetts legal holidays. And this is being implemented statewide at varying levels, just like we're doing here tonight. A lot of conversation about it right now, and decisions are being made as we get closer to June. Any questions from anyone regarding the information provided for you tonight?
Scott or Janice?
So we would have no choice but to add this if the state's making it a legal holiday. It's just that is what it is, isn't it? No, I'm seriously asking.
So I would say the answer to that is yes.
Okay.
Would be closed on the holiday if it falls on a work day or the Friday before a Saturday or the Monday following Sunday, which has been our practice as listed in the personnel manual.
Scott, any questions?
No questions. That answers all in any questions, I believe.
Are we, so what would the next steps be? I'm pretty excited to see this added as a holiday in the state, and that we're following along with that, but, or proposing to follow along with it. But what would the next steps be? Because obviously this would have some kind of contractual negotiations or whatever for union employees or.
So, Mr. Chair, to your question, at some point, and we wanted to start the discussion, we'd be looking for the select board as the executive body of the town to take a vote, making it official on the local level. It would then become part of one of the holidays is recognized, and you have the page in your packet in the town's personnel policy. And then with respect to the unionized folks that have collective bargaining agreements, and some of them had proposed this potentially as a holiday. If the collective bargaining agreement is silent on said issue, then it often defers to the personnel policy, for guidance on that. So I think that if it was going to be made a recognized town holiday, in the issue of equity, it should apply to everybody. I mean, you'll hear, some towns, negotiating it with each of the groups and so forth. However, here in Ayer, as in other towns, if the contract is silent, it often defers to the personnel policy.
Okay.
But we wanted to just start the discussion again. There isn't a need for a vote, per se tonight, but, see what the select boards, if they had any thoughts or questions or concerns.
Okay.
It's a lot of holidays.
That is.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions or concerns.
Okay.
Is there a time frame when you're looking for a decision or a vote or?
If there aren't any other questions, what I would propose is I could put it on a future agenda, either the May 4th or the May 18th meeting, for final discussion in a vote. And that would put us in a position that it falls on June 19th. That would give us enough time.
Okay, Janice?
So I just want to ask a question. Okay, so Massachusetts has approved it. It's a state holiday. It is what it is. So we would be adding it. Can you remove a holiday? And I'm going to use Columbus Day as an example. And the reason why I'm using that one as an example is because I used to have that as a holiday through my company, and then they took that one away. So that's why I'm using that one as an example. So I'm just asking. So we can add, but we can't remove one.
To answer through the chair, you could remove Columbus Day, meaning the board could remove Columbus Day as a holiday, for example. The challenge will be with the union folks that have collective bargaining. They won't object to to following one that isn't spoken for, but that would be subject to bargaining with the unions. But the board could remove a holiday as listed on the memo that you have.
That was just, I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, I guess if we could put it on a agenda for May 4th for final
Okay,
discussion and decision, if that works.
sure.
Mhm.
So we'll
Got it, yes, okay.
we'll prepare it as an agenda item under my report for May 4th and provide the information. And if there are any further questions or so forth, we can address them at that time.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, that and members of the board, that concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to new business or select board member questions.
I have nothing.
I don't have anything this evening, thanks.
Okay. I don't really have a question per se, but I just, being that we're coming up on town meeting, I just want to say how much I believe the board, myself, also just appreciate the work that you guys do. Robert, you, Carly, your staff, everybody down at town hall, and just in the town in general to get ready for this. It's a lot of work, and it definitely does not go unnoticed. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then the next item would be approval of the meeting minutes from March 30th. Did anybody have any changes or edits?
I
had
did
no-
not. I'll make a motion to approve meeting minutes for March 30th, 2021 as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, board member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, and the meeting minutes are approved. And that brings us to our conclusion.
Can
I'll
I-
make a motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I just want to jump in that Mark Wetzel's change orders are on the counter. There's 4 that need to be signed. And then there'll be the set of minutes for Janice. When you you guys could pop down this week, that would be great.
I'll pop in.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second.
Okay, board member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, and we are adjourned.